Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I've had this idea for an addition to the Ikea Star Wars bookcase that I made a few months back of adding in a nod to the original trilogy movies with a tactical display screen. And I thought the best way to achieve this would be to laser etch a piece of acrylic. But if you've followed along on the channel, you know that the laser that I've been working with is a bit underpowered and not really suited for the job. So I reached out to my friends at Glowforge to talk about maybe finding a way that we could collaborate. And they were nice enough to send me one of the Glowforge Pro units to test out for this channel. And so I'm going to take you along on the build while I make this tactical display screen for my Ikea Star Wars bookcase. So let's get to it. First things first, I needed to handle some shop infrastructure with the addition of a new rolling work table. So I grabbed my dolly, pulled the box from my trunk, and rolled it into the back for assembly. A bit of unpacking and assembly, and before I knew it, I had a new table for my Glowforge Pro. So the next part of the build is something that's specific to my shop setup. The Glowforge itself is designed to run straight out of the box, but because of how my shop is designed and where the Glowforge is going to live, I needed to add in a few extra pieces to make it work a bit more efficiently. Let me show you what I mean. Before the laser arrived, I knew that I needed to do a bit more work in the shop by installing an inline fan, since I'll be venting the Glowforge about 30 feet from the unit. I'll also be installing an automatic vacuum switch that turns on the fan when I power on the Glowforge and keeps the fan running for a few minutes after I power it off to ensure that the smoke and fumes have sufficient time to escape the vent hose. So I mounted them to the studs before installing some additional wall control panels while I waited for the Glowforge to arrive. And just as I finished up, the new Glowforge Pro arrived and it was time to bring it into the shop. And through the magic of video, it's out of the box and ready for setup. I removed all the tape and packing foam and started by installing the crumb tray to catch any of the small parts that are cut by the laser. Next up, I connected the laser unit and dropped it into the magnetic mounting plate, and it was time to power it up. All in all, this took about 5 minutes. Their online directions are really straightforward, and the design makes it nearly impossible to do incorrectly. Oh hey, there's a sticker. I wonder how that got there. Every Glowforge unit comes with $150 worth of their proof-grade materials, including things like leather and a few different types of wood. But what I'm really interested in is the sheet of acrylic. As you can see, the materials are all marked with QR codes, and the internal camera scans that code and automatically adjusts the settings in the Glowforge interface to ensure the correct power settings, which is extremely handy. So I dropped the acrylic into the unit, and now let's take a look at the interface. I had my friend Ado from Fabworks crank out this reproduction of the Star Wars tactical display in Illustrator, and I was able to drag the SVG file into the Glowforge interface, choose which parts would be engraved and which would be cut, and then it was time to put the machine through its paces. And when the button flashes, it's time to go. So of course I pressed it and the etching began. Because of the size and complexity of the design, it took about 3 hours to etch and cut the acrylic sheet. But when I opened the lid, my idea had really come into focus. I had read in the Glowforge community that you can use Gorilla Tape to remove the masking from the acrylic. So I grabbed some and was able to get the masking peeled off to expose the crisp etching into the sheet of acrylic below. There was a bit of a learning curve, but eventually I was able to grab even the smallest bits of masking without a problem. Lighting was the last part of the build, but I knew that I was going to need to Star Warsify the LED light source. So I designed some greeblies that I cut on the laser in under 3 minutes. This will help make the light look like it's a part of the display and not just how it's being lit. Once the parts were cut, I assembled them with a bit of CA glue and test fit them around the LED puck light. And with the fit confirmed, it was primed and painted white to match the LED puck light, and now we can wrap up this build. And just like that, I went from concept to design to finished product in my hand in just a couple of hours. The Glowforge really is a great addition to my shop workflow and is an absolute must if you do any level of rapid prototyping. I'd like to give a special thanks to the team at Glowforge for sending me the Glowforge Pro to use on this project, plus a few videos in the future. And I'd also like to thank Ado over at Fabworks, who created the designs that I use for the tactical display screen. Well, that's going to do it for this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check back next week for another tutorial. But most importantly, go make something.